All right, welcome everybody. I see some familiar faces. All right, welcome everybody. Shout out to Geraldine. Some familiar faces. I'm gonna get this echo out of the way. I'm sure y'all heard that. All right, guys, we're doing a little double duty. As y'all know, we also live stream this on Facebook so that most people can watch as possible. Big shout out to Jason Centennial for helping us out with that and allowing us to broadcast through the Facebook group, Airbnb Host of Philadelphia. I see Jose there. Beth Shad, always great seeing you. All right. And to everybody else in the audience, well, most of you guys don't have your video on, so y'all got to turn your video on first. That's the one thing. Guys, we're a community here. Y'all got to turn that video on. This is we treat this like we're all meeting in person. Don't be shy and keep letting folks in. All right. You know, I'm going to ask Jose a quick question, and I'm going to also make him the co-host. I'm realizing that people are going to keep flooding in right now, and we don't have our normal person that's letting folks in. First of all, Jose, how's it going for you? And then would you be able to let some folks in while I take things away real quick? I just made you co-host.
Yes, all is going good. I have to figure out how to. Yep.
Hey, if you have any trouble, let me know. No worries. I'm still letting them in whenever I see them. They're coming rapidly.
You made me. Yeah, I don't see it where I'm co-host. I don't see.
Oh, it's automatic. So if you see a floating little bubble, it'll allow you to admit somebody. That's all you got to do. Yeah. Nobody's waiting right now, but they'll be trickling in every now and then. So welcome everybody. So glad to have this meeting. I'm sure this is a meeting that a lot of you folks, based on the Facebook posts, have really been waiting for, because we know how how confusing, that's just one word for this current licensing process is. But yeah, we know how confusing it is, but we also want to really explain that this is something that we're doing to let you guys know where things stand right now. But this is, most importantly about what we're doing to stop this. But the thing is, part of stopping this is understanding what is happening on a detailed level right now, and specifically details where you guys are having trouble. We want to make sure that we clear up any of you guys' questions. But our goal and the momentum there is still the same. We're planning to get this removed, and nothing has changed. We are in a very, very good position to get this removed, and we're going to be starting that process once City Council gets back in session. But I'm kind of going a little bit ahead of myself. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. If you don't know who I am, my name is Theron Lewis. I'm one of the co-founders of Sharing Philadelphia, and we're not co-founders, one of the founders, of Sharing Philadelphia. And I also have an organization that helps to save short-term rentals worldwide called STR Hero. Because we've been so successful in Philly, and we're right on the cusp of achieving a victory here with you guys. I threw on the suit, even though it's like still 70, 80 degrees where I'm at right now. But I got the AC blasting, so I'm doing this for y'all. It's all good. Don't worry about me. I'm not gonna hyperventilate or anything like that. I'll be all right, So yeah, but it's really a pleasure to be on with you guys and to answer you guys' questions. I want to pass the floor to Jose real quick, see if he had anything he wanted to say. Jose is also one of the founders of Sharing Philadelphia and has been on the ground making things happen for you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Darren, for the intro. Sorry, I'm meeting mangoes. Need the energy. But yeah, I'm excited. Thanks, Darren, for organizing this. I've been here since day one. I've seen the progress. I'm very excited for the next things that are in the works. We definitely we're at the table when before no one knew who we were. We were nobody. And now they starting to now talk about us. I mean, we are the buzz on the table. I mean, we're having backdoor conversations with the Department of Commerce, LNI, council members. He'll go more into it, but yeah, I'm excited and I'm very hopeful we could knock this out.
Fantastic. All right, but last but not least, I want to now introduce the the company that is directly helping Philadelphia save their short-term rentals. And not only just, this being a company that's helping, this is a company that their product directly helps people not get into these situations, not be bad actors, make it easy for them to be the best host possible and provide the best experience. And then not even that, going even further, this company directly, they're helping Philadelphia, but they have a mission of helping associations everywhere. This is not just something that is a ROI situation. This is something where they are passionate about this industry just like you all, and they want you guys to be to stay in business, and then also to be able to be the best actors the easiest way possible. So I won't ruin all the thunder. I'm going to let Nathan explain it. He's the expert here. He can explain this company way better than I can, even though I definitely know it. But I want to definitely thank Minut for being here, directly helping us save short-term rentals, contributing to the cause. And then also showing you guys what this is, what they do, and then also they have things that some free things for you guys that they want to offer specifically to the community. So we were really appreciative of them, and I'm going to let Nathan take it from here. If he wants to give an introduction, and we can even kick things off right from there.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Darren, and thanks, Jose, both of you for having us here. We are super excited. Yeah, as Darren said, we have a vested interest in short-term rentals in general. So we feel like we all rise and fall together. Yes, we're a company, but we don't want to see any city completely limited from short-term rentals. We also have a vested interest in Philadelphia in particular because one of our staff members is born and raised in Philadelphia. So we love Philly. Personally, it's one of my favorite cities. I visited for the first time in 2010, fell in love with the city then. I have been back numerous times since, and I just love the history of Philly. So super excited to be here. I'm going to run through who we are at Minut, but I'd love for this to be more of a conversation. If you have questions along the way, please do throw them into the chat, and I'll let one of the moderators interrupt me when they feel like it's a good time. We can answer some of those questions along the way. We will have some time at the very end as well to do some Q&A, but hey, I'm totally cool with doing that along the way as well, just so that we make it more of a conversation, less of a presentation. But I will share my screen and we can jump into what I have for us tonight. You should see the presentation now. If I could just get a thumbs up from someone that you can see it. Perfect. So as Darren said, we are Minut. And our mission is to help people just like you with their short-term rentals, making sure you don't have unruly guests, making sure you are easily able to adhere to legislation that makes sense. And then if we can help you prohibit legislation that doesn't make sense, we would love to do that as well. We do that with our smart home sensor that you see here. I've got one here in front of me as well. So during the Q&A, if we want to go over a little bit more in depth, we can see it there as well. But as you see here, it monitors noise, motion, temperature, among other things. And the whole goal is, as stated here, peace of mind for your neighbors, peace and quiet, privacy for your guests. We'll talk a little bit about that in depth in a moment. Security, of course, and peace of mind for you. And just making sure that short-term rentals work for everyone. So yes, you're our customer, but we're thinking about the entire spectrum from guest to neighbor to homeowner to property manager. We try to start off by making everything incredibly simple. So this is super simple to install. For those of you that haven't seen it, there is a magnetic plate, which is represented here in the photo, that is 3M adhesive to the ceiling, to the wall, wherever is the best place for you to place it. And our sensor magnetizes directly to that plate. Literally, you could be up and running in a minute. If you've got a step ladder and you stick that to the ceiling, you're up and running in a matter of 60 seconds or less. It can be plugged in all the time, or you can charge it once and it will last for about a year before you need to recharge it. So super easy to install and maintain. And then it helps give you notifications about the things that are important to you, right? So if your guests have a party, you're going to hear about that. You can use the motion to see when the guests have checked in, when they've checked out, maybe when your cleaning crew has come and gone as well. and then also get notifications about things like the temperature. If it gets higher than you would have expected, lower than you would have expected, etc., we'll send you information about that as well. Additionally, there are a lot of features. You see them all listed here on the right-hand side, but the first thing I want to mention on this slide is this graphic right here on the left-hand side that mentions we do not record or send raw data ever. So this is super important to us as a company. This is where we're specifically thinking about the guest and their experience. We do not actually record the sound that's happening within the apartment. We process everything on the device itself, and then we send over data about the decibel level, the sound level, the temperature, those types of things. But we're never recording actual audio. So they can feel super safe that their conversations are not being recorded or stored ever. As I mentioned, over on the right-hand side, the features are listed here. We talked a little bit in the first slide about some of them, but there are a few additional ones listed here. So we do noise monitoring, obviously, to help you prevent parties. That's a big one and a big reason why people come to us. We also do occupancy monitoring. We'll cover that here in just a bit. We also help you know the movement. I mentioned that earlier, to know when people are in the unit, temperature, alarm recognition. If an alarm is going off in the unit, we'll alert you. And then we take the temperature and humidity data and report to you if there's a mold risk. And then lastly, I mentioned that it attaches via a magnetic plate. So we'll let you know if someone's tampering with it. If it comes off that plate, you'll get an alert right away. It will still be recording all of these points of data, but we do want you to know if someone's messing with the sensor. So since most people come to us for that noise monitoring first and foremost, I'll cover that first. You see the graph here, the line that varies obviously represents the decibel level of sound in a listing. Then there's a dotted line toward the top that represents the threshold that you as a host would set whatever you feel comfortable with. And we give you a small cheat sheet in the back end to let you know what makes sense, where should I set this threshold? But you can modify that to whatever feels comfortable to you. If there's a spike of sound, as you see in the middle, we're not going to alert you about every small sound. If someone drops a fork in your unit or something, we don't want you getting notifications constantly. But what we will alert you and potentially your guest about would be long-term noise events like you see on the right-hand side of the screen, sustained noise events. And we do that in this way. So again, we see a small spike on the left-hand side here, no notification there. But when we see a sustained event, we'll begin to send a series of messages to you and to the guest based on whatever you've decided. So in the example here, the first message would most likely include a message to you and your team, letting you know that there's a noise event happening in one of your listings. And then you could also choose to send a text message to the guest. We recommend that for the first notification here. You get to set that SMS message, so you can choose what you send to them, something kind but firm, letting them know that the level of sound in the unit is above the threshold that you allow. 94% of the time, that will solve your issue. Most people don't realize they're being too loud. They also recognize when they get that message that they are being monitored as far as the level of sound in the unit. And once they realize those two things, they'll usually quiet down. If they don't, then 10 minutes later, we can send another notification both to your team and to them via text. And we would recommend that maybe you add an auto call to the guest as well. Again, you get to choose the messaging here. So they would receive a phone call as well as a text message asking them to please keep the noise down. If that doesn't do the trick, then additional 10 minutes goes by. We would usually recommend that you send all of those three things again and add flash and sound. So the device has a ring of lights around the outside edge that would begin to light up, and it would emit a sound, not ear piercing, but enough for them to know that something's going on. So if they're not checking their phone, this may be enough to get them to notice something's happening, and maybe they need to check their phone to see what's going on. On that slide with all of the features listed, I mentioned occupancy monitoring. This can be super helpful to eliminate a party before it even begins. We call it crowd detect. And what it does is count the number of Bluetooth devices in the unit. So if you have a listing and someone books out the apartment or the house for 4 people, we use an algorithm to determine what the average number of Bluetooth devices would be for those 4 people. and set a threshold at that number so that if it's higher, you would get notified right away that there might be a crowd forming in the apartment, higher than the number of people that have actually booked it. So this isn't meant to tell you exactly, oh, hey, there are 5 people instead of 4. But the intention here is if you see 25, 30 devices in the unit, that's a clear indication that they're probably beginning a party of some kind. Maybe you haven't gotten a noise event yet, but people are beginning to form a crowd. And so you can reach out to the people in the listing right away to ask what's going on and maybe cancel that party before it even begins. In addition to those messages that happen based on a prompt, too many people, too much noise, too high of a temperature, that sort of thing, we can also help you send some scheduled messages. You see here in the example that we have before check-in, after check-in, before checkout, after checkout. Those are our recommendations. You don't have to send all those, but maybe you set up some sort of messaging so that you can set it and forget it. That you've got messaging that goes to these people. Maybe it's one day before they check in or a week before they check in, whatever you like, you can set the frequency and they would get a message of your choosing. So you set this up once and then every booking you have is going to get that message before they check in, or maybe it's 15 minutes after they check in. You want them to have those pertinent details that they need, like the Wi-Fi password or something related to the listing. And then before checkout, you can remind them of the rules of checkout, what they're supposed to be doing when they leave, the time that they're supposed to check out. And then the after checkout's a great one for trying to get that review, right? If they've had a great time, here's a good opportunity to prompt them automatically to leave a review. All of this insight you get both in a web form and on your phone. So no matter where you are, you can always check in on your property to see what's the current noise level, what's the current occupancy level based on the number of devices, what's the temperature, all those great pieces of data at your fingertips. Additionally, we integrate with most of the most popular property management systems on the market today. We continue to add to that number to the tune of maybe 3 or 4 property management systems a month. That's prioritized based on customer feedback. So if you have a property management system that we don't currently integrate with and you let us know, there's a good chance we can bump it up the list and make sure that it gets integrated more quickly. This would just basically mean that as soon as someone books your listing, we'll pull in information like their phone number, the nights that they're staying, the number of people, all that stuff automatically. So again, once it's set up at the very beginning, you have to mess with very little to make sure all this stuff is just happening and giving you peace of mind all the time. We also are super excited to announce that we've recently integrated directly with Airbnb. So if you don't use a property management system, but you are hosting your listing on Airbnb, we can pull in the data directly from Airbnb. And then when those messages go out, rather than a text message, we'll send the message directly through the Airbnb platform. So they'll get the message from Airbnb, which can be helpful as well. Sometimes that carries more weight when they receive a message about noise coming directly from the Airbnb app. We also have an API. So if any of you are incredibly techy and prefer to do that sort of stuff yourself, you're completely welcome to utilize our internal API and create any sort of automation that you're looking to create on your own. So what can we do for you? Bottom line, we hope we can save you money because we don't want parties in your unit. Additionally, things like compliance, what we're talking about tonight, if we can be a help for you as a community to show that you care about compliance, you care about noise, you care about occupancy, all those things, and that you have devices in unit to prove it, and to fight against maybe a neighbor who's just disgruntled who would say, oh, it's always so noisy in that rental next to me. And you can point to real data and say, well, actually, the decibel level in the home is well below the city's normal threshold. It's always very quiet. I have exact data about that. The data never expires or goes away. So you literally have it for years and years if you need to look back and see what your average decibel sound is within the unit. And then we want to superpower your team. If we can take this little device that would cost you as little as $10 a month or at the maximum $15 per month and save you maybe having to hire someone to do some of these things, then we'd love to be able to give you that peace of mind for a super affordable price tag. So I'll open up the floor now to any questions. And then if we don't have a ton of questions, I'm happy to jump into the actual interface and show you what the web interface looks like. But I'd love to just pause here if there are any questions.
Quick question, Nathan. Do people put this on their listing and like let prospective guests know that this exists?
Yes, so Airbnb does have a regulation about recording devices. Technically, this isn't a recording device since we don't record any actual conversations that take place, but we do recommend that you would still disclose it in a similar way, not only to make sure that there's never an issue with Airbnb, who of course we have a great partnership with. Obviously, we have an integration with them now, but even more so because when people see on your listing that you do have a device that monitors the noise level, that immediately already reduces the odds that someone would book it for a party. So we do have a couple of statements on our website that you can borrow and copy and paste directly into your listing that just say, hey, there's a device in there that records noise, temperature, humidity, and let people know that. And then we also include the blurb that it does not record actual conversations so that they feel safe. That's a great question.
Fantastic. And really quick, I just wanted to chime in to help people with asking questions. When you ask your question, we would love it if you hit the raise hand button, or if you can't find that, just shoot a little message in the chat. But we're going to prioritize people who want to speak versus put their question in the chat. And when you're called on, it would be great to say your name, a little bit of background about your business, just so people in the community, we foster that community connection. We would love to know who you are, as one of us. And that would be fantastic. So just wanted to throw that out there. I meant to say it before the Q&A started. Apologies, Nathan, I forgot, but
no, all good.
Fantastic. And while I kind of have the floor, I just wanted to say really quick, because if I'm not mistaken, well, I know I'm not mistaken. You guys were super excited to bring this benefit to Philly. You guys have an offer that is specifically for Sharing Philadelphia members that they can't get anywhere else. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We do. I'll be passing that over to Darren to put into the Facebook channel once the meeting is over, but we are excited to offer 2 months free to anyone who uses the code that we pass over. The pricing of the device I hinted at, I'll go ahead and switch over now to our website just so that you see it. So typically $10. So first of all, before I begin with the numbers, know that the billing is annual, and that's just because of the deals that we offer on the sensor itself. So I'll explain that here in a second. So $10 a month or $15 a month, but it is billed as $120 a year or $180 per year. So I don't like that to be a surprise to anyone. And the reason is, for the standard plan, we're going to give the device to you at essentially half off. So $50 upfront cost for the sensor, and then $120 for the year. But for Pro, for any of you that are wanting to integrate with Airbnb or a property management system, you would need the Pro account. That's the main difference. We give you the sensor completely free. And so that's why our billing is based on an annual number, just to make sure that we don't send out that device for $15 and then never see it again. So we'll give you the sensor for free for each plan. So if you have 10 homes and you're buying 10 plans, you'll still get all 10 sensors for free. And each plan would be billed out at $180 a year. So with that 2-month discount, it basically brings the price of standard down to $100, still with the $50 sensor, and the Pro down to $150 a year, still with a completely free sensor.
Fantastic. And you were saying that what you're offering to Sharing Philadelphia hosts is 2 months of that free. And forgive me if you had mentioned that already, but 2 months of that free, which they can't get anywhere else. That's correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a deal that we usually reserve for properties of 50, like property managers who have 50 homes or higher.
Wow.
It's our top discount. So normally if you have anywhere from 1 to 50, you would either pay this full price that you see here, or maybe as you get up into the 25 or above number, they would allow us to typically offer 1 month off. So it's a great deal. It's the top deal that we offer. And yeah, I'll send over the code to be posted on the Facebook group so that you can take advantage of it anytime that you're ready. And then, of course, you can always reach out to me as well. It's just nathan.smith@minut.com, or just jump on our website and fill out the form, and we'll be happy to help you out there. I'm specifically the rep that deals with Philadelphia. So if you're based in Philly, then I'm the one you'll be dealing with no matter what. So feel free to just jump on the website and reach out as well. And I should mention, just so you all know, we are a company based in Sweden. For those of you that haven't heard of us, Malmo, Sweden, we have a team there. We also have a team in London, and then we have a distributed team in the US based in California, Oregon, Northwest Arkansas, which is where I am, and as I mentioned, in Philadelphia.
Fantastic. I just posted the website in the chat, so you guys can copy and paste that. It's very simple, www.minut.com, MINUT. And I had another question, Nathan, because I swear I'm gonna pass the floor to anybody else. I had to ask this though, because I feel like myself, I'm a host as well, as I think everybody here knows. I'm a short-term rental host, and that's how I got started advocating for hosts, because I was going to lose my business from a short-term rental ban, and we got that pulled. And I'm happy to be able to still operate, and on the business side of things, and I think everybody feels this way. I'm all about, okay, what is my return on investment? Like, how does this either make me money or save me money? And if it's, we all know time is money too. So I think about that in kind of the same light. So could you give any example of, okay, hey, this is how people have saved a ton of money, or made a ton of money, or saved a ton of time, which, as you know, time is money.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, the obvious one would be, you don't have to be monitoring these properties 24/7 to know when there's an event. The time savings there, for me, time is money, definitely. And I'm always thinking, how much time is this going to take, and what do I value my own time at? Well, if you value your time very highly at all, having the peace of mind of knowing anytime there's noise for more than 5 minutes, I'm going to get notified right away, is better than probably any employee that you could pay for to monitor those properties in person. So that's obviously amazing. But for us, one of the things we talk about a lot is the fact that the average party, if it's a big party, costs $1,300 in damage or lost rental income. And so if we can just help you avoid even one party, then we've probably just paid for the device for close to 10 years. So we try to keep it at an incredibly low price point. The reality is, when you're developing a device as sophisticated as the one we have, it costs a decent amount of money just to develop. And we try to do a lot of that development in Europe and in the US. And so it's a very expensive device. And then oftentimes when we offer discounts like the ones we're talking about today, we're technically losing money on that first year entirely. So our entire goal is to not only convince you, oh, this is something worth having, but to give you enough value that you're going to come back year after year after year and be our customer, and that we can all grow together, because we're in this for the long haul. It's not going to benefit me or the company at all if you buy one of these and you hate it in 6 months. The only benefit we get is in year 2. So we want to make sure that we're always adding more and more and more value. And you don't have, even if you go with the standard plan and you pay that $50 for the device, you'll never pay that again, right? It's a one-time fee, and you're only paying that recurring $120 per year for that plan. And then of course we give you the device for free for Pro. But really, for the equivalent of $15 a month max, it's kind of a no-brainer for just a little bit more peace of mind. I think if I asked you today if you would take some extra peace of mind and pay me $15 for it, the answer is probably pretty easy. So there's really no obligation or risk in terms of, if you don't like it, you can send it back within 30 days. We don't mind. We have people that have hundreds of properties, and they usually start with one device. They want to test it out. And our sales team has no problem with that, because we know once you get your hands on one, you're going to love it. We're going to fix anything that you might not love and help all of our customers out, not just you. And then they'll probably expand to the full portfolio of 100 properties or whatever it is. So for me as a salesperson, I have to say, I love selling it because it sells itself, really. Try one out. If you love it, which I know you will, you'll end up putting one in all your properties.
Oh man, I mean that definitely look just again being a short-term rental brand owner, $15 a month versus hiring an employee to do that process or add that to an employee's plate. That where it's almost even impossible for them to do it. I mean that's a hard thing to pass up. 50, it's hard to beat $15 a month. So I definitely, I mean that that yearly cost is something that we pay way more than that for employees, and part of their description is to do things like that. And if we can take that off their plate so they can do more productive things, I think that's fantastic as well. Well, you know what? I'm going to pass the floor to the first person who raised their hand, Jason Centennial. Go ahead and introduce yourself. I think a lot of people on here know you. Another heavy hitter, and another celebrity in the industry. And but yeah, after that, we'd love to hear your question. Oh, you're on mute, Jason. There we go.
There you go.
You broke the #1 rule of Zoom. Don't leave yourself on mute.
Wah, wah.
Happens to the best of us. It's all good.
So, hey guys, Jason Centeno. Yeah, I guess the admin of Airbnb Hosts of Philadelphia, and been at this thing from the beginning as well. The question I had was, you mentioned messaging and texting, right? So does this back office include a CRM as well to keep track of all that stuff? Because I don't know if anybody realizes that, but that alone becomes valuable because it saves you a lot of trying to grab people's emails and phone numbers from everywhere and remarket to these people as your own customers. I know that's something in the group that people don't even think about doing. So you're saying that because it's part of this system, that there's somewhere in that back office that someone could either Excel download or just keep track of that information so that they have all their guests, the true information that the guests actually give, as opposed to, some of the flim flam stuff they might do. That sits back there in that back office somewhere, correct?
So it depends on whether you're using the pro or the standard. So, well, you can do either of what I'm about to say in both. With the pro, since you're most likely integrating with property management system, much of that data probably lives there, and we're just automatically pulling it in via an API. But yes, we have a system in place where you can also manually add the data, even if you're just using the standard plan and not integrating, in which case, yeah, you can add in the phone numbers and the information on the guest. And then, as I mentioned, you also always have the data on any sort of event, noise, temperature, motion, all that stuff is stored for eternity. We don't have a time limit on when that stuff expires. So pretty much any point of data that you're using in the system will be retained, and you can always look back on it.
Will that adjust? Is it dynamic? In other words, if it's entered once, because we still have, it's Philly and we've had quite a bit of scammers. Does that adjust? Like if a person adds a new number or a new email, or they do some kind of change in there? Is that kind of the reason I ask? Is because, like, for one of the things that I encountered just with smart locks is these sort of notifications don't work with international numbers. They're always a problem, or there's a bunch of little bugs that aren't accounted for. So you always have to have like these backup systems upon backup systems, and hopefully you get all the information right. And I do see that it could take the place of something like Smart B&B to some degree, but that's why I was asking, because if that data, just the contact information somewhere outside of Airbnb that lives outside of that, for some people, because they might not get, they might only have 2 units or 3 units, and they don't use Price Labs, they don't need Smart B&B, they don't really need a property management system that, because they only got 2 or 3. This might take the place of a lot of those additional services that, and the value's there for that, even, you know what I mean? So
yeah, we wouldn't necessarily say that we would try to take the place of a property management system, but yes, I hear exactly where you're coming from in terms of, for those that may not feel they're at that point where they really even need a property management system, we would hope we could fill a lot of the gaps there that you probably have. And in terms of working with numbers from different countries and stuff, the positive of our company being based in Sweden is that we are at the moment in over 100 countries with our devices, and multilingual. I want to say 7 languages at the moment, and so we're very adept at how to handle things like that. So on the plus side, there's a really high likelihood that even if someone comes and books in from Spain or something and their prefix on their number doesn't make any sense to a US system, it's probably fine for ours. We're used to having to handle guests from pretty much any country.
All right, that was my question.
Awesome. Thanks for the question. Any other questions?
We'll be in touch with you soon. This is just the beginning.
Up there, and I see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
I think I jinxed myself. When you point, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. So I guess that's a little bit of karma right there. It's all good. I've learned my lesson. So I definitely have one more question that I think is would resonate with the community as well. But I'm definitely going to hold it for just to make sure other people don't have their questions, because after that we will be moving to the guidance part of this with regards to the regulations. So let's see, just to make sure, guys, to raise your hand, you hit the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then you click raise hand. So it's the button with a smiley face on it. And you just click raise hand. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time for that. And again, you guys can always as well go to minut.com if you're looking to get this going and you want to use that offer. We will have that placed. Nathan will have that placed so that you can take advantage of that. Remember, you being a Sharing Philadelphia member, you will get a better offer than just ordering it off of the website. So definitely reach out to Nathan, and we'll have that stuff for you as well when you're ready to add that to your home. So I'm going to go ahead and ask my question, because it's really this is what I really love about this device, and just you guys in general. The fact that this is not, yes, there's a business element to this, which, as it should be. You guys have created and developed, you guys have invented a great, super cool product that, has a lot of advanced technology, but makes it simple. But what you guys also do is you guys have done this stuff and put it into communities and seen changes in the community. You guys have even done studies on this with Airbnb. So I guess what I wanted to know is, what do you see because we all on this call really care about being a good actor in the community and being like a good example. And that's one of the reasons why they are proposing this, or not proposing, why they passed this ordinance that was so horrible to begin with, is because all they were hearing from is the bad actors. So we want anything that can help us improve that image and make actual change where there's less party houses and things like that. We want to take it. So Nathan, if you could let us know what you think this would do for Philly if these were in people's homes.
Yeah, that's a great point. We have done a ton of case studies and pilot programs in cities around the world, Prague and London and New Zealand. And what we see is, in those places, if you can show an act of good faith that, look, it's clear we want to be good actors as well. We've installed devices, and it doesn't have to be Minut. Honestly, we do care about the community. We want to see it all rise together. We're not out here to try to bash any other product that somebody might offer that does anything similar. But if you can showcase that you all have tried it with good faith to be good actors in the community, and showcase that this type of tourism obviously is great for Philadelphia. When they put a limit on short-term housing, they put a limit on tourism in the area, and that's never good, right? They should realize that long-term. But I think showcasing that you care enough to act, and to act quickly, and because of the fact that we don't delete any data, that you have historical data to show, well, let me just show you what the activity in my Airbnb is actually like. Here's the sound levels, here's the occupancy, all this stuff. It just shows that you all don't mind regulation as long as it's within reason. You don't want other people to be noisy either, because it brings down the whole community. So we do everything we can to bring pilots to cities that we fear regulations are coming, just so they can showcase that. And when they get the results, like the 94% I mentioned earlier, that that problems are solved with that first text message within 94% of the time. That's something we can point to because of our case studies. In Prague, for instance, 100% of noise complaints were resolved
Wow.
within those 3 messages that get sent. So we were able to showcase, look, just a little bit of effort and 100% of those problems were resolved. And of course, it's a no-brainer and a win-win for you because you don't want parties in your unit anyway. You know it's going to cost you money. You know it's going to cost time to fix any issues that might have been caused by that party, and then you lost rental income for that time frame that you're down. So it's really win-win for everyone. You get to showcase to the community that you care about being a good actor, and then you're protecting your own property.
Look, that was fantastic. You told me things I didn't even know that you guys had done and uncovered. I mean, that statistic of, I mean, I won't even say the 100% because that's awesome. I mean, that's perfect. But even the 94%, even if we got 94% of the folks, let's put it like this: 94% of those parties or those situations that caused people to complain to city council, I don't even think they'd be trying to bring this up. They wouldn't have as much of a leg to stand on. So, knowing that this is something.
This is Kirk Furyk. I'm an economic anthropologist. I used to be a professor at UPenn. I'm an Airbnb arbitrage person who's been doing this in Philly for 8 years. Just want to let you know I just got here. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm a resource for people. I'm also conducting a global ethnographic research study on platform cultures with Airbnb as a field site. So would love to talk to everybody at some point who wants to share their story to let people know how the platform economy is working for them locally in a global world where we can no longer ignore platforms as the primary way that we make an income.
Well, Carl, I think you joined at a perfect time because we were literally just talking about data and important data that if this was something that had been acted on in, like, if Philly had, we were basically saying if things such as using devices like Minut were happening a lot in Philly, a lot of those instances where the city council had calls about party houses and disturbances that were severe.
I mean, I actually just had
so.
a party from DC Airbnb renters in my building on Chestnut and 19th that I live here this summer.
Yeah.
Like, they were just I've not had a locked door to my building for a week now because of these guys.
Wow.
Like, there are bad operators, and I'm also working with a policy writer for my state senator in New York. So I have residences both in New York and Philadelphia, and I legally Airbnb both places. And again, like, I'm an unemployed academic. This is what I have to do so I can be an independent scholar. I may as well make it an ethnographic research project. So I have. We're basically a group of queer hospitality. It's a queer hospitality guild. We're called Crescendo. My name's Kirk Furyk. Hi, Dr. Furyk, I guess, if you want. But yeah, I've actually been working with homeless queer youth as well, trying to get them to do work with, like, housekeeping and stuff. So we're trying to deal with the whole, like, issue of, like, methamphetamine abuse in Philadelphia, especially during post-COVID. These are things that the city council members are not even thinking about. I haven't heard anyone on the groups in Clubhouse or on Facebook talk about the actual, like, potential for actual real social development that can be done through these kinds of things. Black Lives Matter. Let's put rubber where it meets the road. Let's hire people who are in jail who have been, because of the judges that have been put in place in Philly, which has been a great achievement of BLM here. Let's put it to use. Let's hire people.
Well, Carl, so here's the thing.
My name's Kirk.
I can tell you have a lot of passion. I can tell you've done a lot of things with social issues and social change, and that is a big piece of what
Black Lives Matter they actually suppressed my colleagues at University of Pennsylvania. They censored us during the Democratic Social like socialist association. Like I'm a socialist, but we're all capitalists. We live in capitalism. Hello.
Well, Carl, you're definitely passionate about this, and we're glad to have you on. Just so you know, we're going to have to go to the next next part of this, which will be the guidance. But I definitely think you have things to absolutely add.
To talk more about those kinds of issues, I'm also writing a book called Airbnb Arbitrage: From Real Estate Speculation to Homelessness in the Age of Airbnb.
Gotcha. Well, so what you want to do is hit the raise hand button when we get to the Q&A session, and we're going to call on you again, and you can just definitely give any questions that you have. But thanks for being on. And
I'm a resource for people, and I also want as many people as want to be included in the research to be having their narratives told about how they're using these platforms to not just enrich platforms, but there are other actual, like there's Italian, organizations that are actually reclaiming Airbnb platform from Airbnb already.
For sure. Well, we'll definitely get to that afterwards. We appreciate your passion and everything, but we got to move to the next segment. Okay. Thanks a lot, Carl.
Yep.
All right, Jose. So, well, first of all, again, just to kind of finish things off with Minut, guys. And not even finish things off. What I mean is, I think we really, hopefully you guys gave you guys a great option and gave you great insight on ways to ensure that you're not the bad actor, and just kind of showing you guys where the industry is and where it's even headed, where we can really get rid of a lot of these issues and nip it in the bud automatically before these things even come up. Because these are things that stop parties, because in a lot of cases people do these noise disturbances and have certain parties because they think that, they either don't know that they're being as loud as they are, or they are trying to pick a place where they feel that it's going to be easy to skirt the system, or they don't think they're going to be monitored. And when you have automatic monitoring, and then have ways to show that, hey, we're going to be enforcing this, and if this thing gets bad, I don't think that Nathan might have mentioned this, but and let me know, you can chime in whenever, but this also has you can set this up where it says, hey, this is the final warning, this is an egregious noise disturbance. We are going to be calling the authorities. And like these levels of warning, and it really helps prevent a lot of parties before they really get carried away. Because a lot of it is where they think that they can take advantage of somebody else and think that they're not going to get any repercussions claimed on them. So this is I'm really happy to have Minut on the call, and they'll be available. Nathan, you said you'll be available for questions later on as well?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. Well, we're going to go to the guidance part of this. We're going to answer you guys' licensing questions. I know this is why the big reason why a lot of you guys wanted to join in, and we really want to make sure you guys have your questions answered. But we also want to say nothing has changed with our initiative in getting this ordinance removed, period, getting this changed, where you don't even have to worry about these egregious licensing issues. But we want you guys to be informed about what's happening now, and we also have something to say for what you can do to aid in getting this removed. And I'll even say it right now, the big thing is for everybody to try to do the licensing process. Don't be afraid of doing it. Try to do it, because this is going to show them how backed up their system is and how this will just not work. And it's already happening, but I'm going to let Jose go into the details. So Jose, the floor is all yours. Uh-oh, don't do it. Don't do it, Jose. Don't do it. Don't do it. Happen to me and Jason. There we go. That was a close one, Jose. That was a close one. Hey, Jose, real quick, it's cutting in and out. I think it might be the Bluetooth.
Okay, you should hear me better now.
Perfect. Can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, so this is the updated directly off of the City of Philadelphia website, dated as of July 21st, the latest update. Now they are going to require all online platforms such as Airbnb to have their license numbers by January 1st. if many of you are on the Airbnb platform, you probably see a banner across the top or on the side indicating that you must be registered by January 3rd. Well, this is where it applies to January 3rd, 2023. Now, so the overview starts with the zoning permit first, and then you have to get licensed. So there's two types of classifications for short-term rentals. It's either you're going to go the route of limited lodging, which the unit has to be your primary resident as a host. So if you only have one Airbnb and you're living in it, this is probably the easiest route, and that's to get limited lodging. There's no restrictions, none at all, unless you're in perhaps one of the districts. But for now, just limited lodging, you have one, you're fine. Now, if you're not living in the unit and it's not your primary residence, you have to get what's called a visitor accommodation. So if you do arbitrage, if you co-host for other owners, you have 4, 5, 10 units, this is where it's going to sting you, and it applies to you. So step one, you have to get the zoning permit. So with this, you either go to the municipal building or you could apply through Eclipse. Now, let's say, for example, I'm a host. I have a bunch of arbitrage units here in Center City. So now I have to go and apply. You have to go to this Eclipse Philadelphia website, apply. Now, the only way for visitor accommodation to even get approved for that permit is that you have to be, your property has to be zoned. This is exactly from the guidance. CMX3, CMX4, CMX5, CA1, CA2, RMX1, RMX2. That is it. I'll actually send the website where you can actually plug in your address and you'll know exactly. Let me just share this with the group. It's easy. You just plug in your address. I sent it to the group, to everyone. Click on that link, plug in your address, go to zoning. You'll know exactly what zone you are. Predominantly, CMX3 and above, these commercial units are probably in Center City. Most places are RMS, RMS5. They won't qualify. Now, if you don't qualify, the next step is to apply for a variance. And I'm telling you, that's going to be pretty hard. So the variance, basically, you have to get an exception saying that I'm not zoned properly, but could you please still allow me to get still allow me to do this at this use permit. Now that process right now, as told by the Department of Commerce, even if you apply today, the earliest you could get an appointment with the committee, the zoning board, is February. Hence, January you can't list. So just right off the bat, you're not going to be able to list after January. And they're telling you that even if you apply today, it's going to be at least a 6-month, basically waiting period to just get in front of the committee to see whether or not. And it's a pretty hard process, and it's not guaranteed. So they have instructions offline of how to appeal. You have to appeal within 30 days of getting declined. What else? Okay, prior to even obtain, and then after you get let's say you get approved, now prior to even getting a license, you have to get a commercial activity license to conduct business in Philadelphia. And also you have to be tax compliant with the business income and receipts tax, BRIT for short, an account for that. And also you have to provide proof that it's lead safety certification and inspection report. So anyone who's doing regular long-term rentals, they should have this lead safety inspection done already. That's the only way they could get their regular rental license. Now, all this wouldn't apply if you make your units more than 30 days. So essentially in the city, if short-term is considered 30 days or less, long-term is considered 30 days or more. So essentially you're not going to be a short-term operator anymore. Now you're operating more of a mid to long-term furnished apartments. And that's basically it. I mean, if anyone has any questions, I know we have a couple of members here that have gone through the process. It's not as straightforward as most might think. People
I have a couple questions.
yeah,
Oh,
sure.
well, hold on one second. I wanted to say that I think this would be a really good time for Geraldine, who's one of the few folks who, so this is, I'm talking about out of tons of people, like that, like I think at this point, I don't know the exact number, but I want to say it's in the quadruple digits of people applying. This is one of the few people that was able to actually get an adjustment completely. And I'm telling you, this is basically impossible to happen. And this was a very, very special case. But the reason why this is important is because she can tell you her personal experience, and she is very much so like everybody else on this in this group, in this community. And when I tell you that it's basically impossible, I don't want to say it like, again, it's not exactly impossible, but it's one of those things where you'll hear her story and you'll understand that this is a serious issue that's going to affect, again, 70% up to 90% of hosts. They will not be able to get licensed. So, Geraldine, if you're ready, go ahead and just kind of share your story from a personal level, and and tell us a little bit about yourself first, just so people know a little bit of who you are.
Sure, Theron. Hi, everybody. My name is Geraldine Dressler. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Perfect. Yes.
Good. I live in Fairmount. I have exactly one Airbnb short-term property. It's the house that's attached to mine. It used to belong to my family, and now belongs to me. And I've been doing this since 2016. My son goes to the local public school. I'm super involved in our community here in Fairmount. And I was taken aback, like all of you were, when this legislation came through. And I started my process with with LNI, like last fall, like last November. And at that point, LNI, basically their own people had no idea what was going on. And I was guided in the wrong direction like 4 times before someone said, well, this is the process. Fast forward to February, I finally got my denial, because you do have to apply for that zoning permit, as Jose said. Got the denial, had to get a whole bunch of documentation together in order to submit it to the ZBA to get my hearing. I applied for that in February, and my hearing was just last week on August 24th. So the timeline that you're delineating is exactly what is still happening. The process that I had to go through was overwhelming and terrible and expensive. I had to send a mailing out to 212 of my closest neighbors. I had to buy stamps. I had to get the whole mailing certified by the postmaster. I had to buy labels and envelopes and paper. I had to go to my civic organization, which I used to be on the board of. And they were confused by this whole process because this was new to them also. And one thing that they said that made a really, really good point, which again underscores the flaws in this legislation, is that the visitor accommodation permit is not a new thing. It's been around for a long time and was never meant to apply to things like short-term rentals. It actually attaches to the property and not the person. So they were really concerned about giving me clearance on this, because if I sell the property, the variance goes with it. It has nothing to do with me being an upstanding citizen. You all can plead your case up and down about what you do in your communities, but their concern is if you sell the property and this variance goes along with it, someone might not be as upstanding as you. So I had to agree to what's called a community benefit agreement, which basically said that, and I agreed to, it's documented in the letter that the RCO sent to the ZBA, that if I sell my property, before I do so, I need to get the variance removed back to, RSA 5, whatever the row home typical zoning is. So got clearance from the civic, went to my hearing, showed up at 9:30 at my stated time, along with 18 other cases, all of whom were represented by attorneys. I do not have an attorney. I was not going to spend money on an attorney for this. But I did get to hear everybody else that presented. And this is every zoning issue in the city that gets to this point. So you're talking about people building new buildings and adding on decks and all sorts of things. And, I think I might have had an advantage because I didn't have an attorney and I just have one unit. I probably would say if you have multiple units, that you do look into getting an attorney. There's a lot of documentation you need to submit ahead of time. You have to have the deed, you have to have the RCO's letter, and it has to be in 5 business days ahead of time, and you have to swear to that. And if you don't have that information in, they're going to table your case until the next round, which could be like another 6 months. So you need to make sure you do your homework, be prepared, read every single thing on that list of instructions of what you need for your appeal, and do not leave anything out, and go over it like 3 times to make sure that you've done it. Also of note, the City Planning Commission weighs in on every single case that gets presented. Sometimes they would vote no on something and then the zoning board would still vote yes. That's what happened in my case. The City Planning Commission weighed in and they voted no. They didn't see it as a financial hardship, which clearly it is. If I don't have this permit, I cannot legally rent my unit after January 1. And then I started to say something and the president of the board was like, just hold on a second, we're going to do a vote. And I was like, wait a minute, I couldn't even repeat this. They all voted, and most of them voted in my favor. It was a 5-person board. They voted 4-1 to approve the variance. And then I got kicked out immediately. So I couldn't say, well, what happens next? So I sent an email today. It's been a little bit over a week. And they said, oh, it takes 3 to 4 weeks for processing. So tack that on to the end of time, for how much time this is going to take. This has cost me probably close to $1,000. It has taken up at least 150 hours of my time. I work, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I have a ton of other responsibilities. I will continue to tell this story, and Theron, I will continue to help get this in front of council people, because this is a burden that no regular person like me should have to go through. I wanted to go through this process because I felt strongly about it, and I wanted to also prove that this is a terrible process and that nobody should have to go through this. I would take Theron's advice, start the process just to get into the queue. We have no idea what's going to happen with the legislation. But I just wanted to share my story so that you all can be prepared for a pretty significant uphill battle. And I also wanted to get in early, to be honest. I don't know if in February they're going to start approving these. And I don't know if you're going to have pushback from your RCOs. I think in certain neighborhoods, like in South Philly, you're going to have huge pushback from your RCOs. So you might want to kind of band together with other, STR hosts in your neighborhood to try to talk to your RCOs before you get to the point of presenting, because they might just see all the bad publicity that's been out there. What happened in Squilla's district when this all kind of came about, and already make up their minds. And there are also some people who just think that, a row home should be owner occupied, and there's no, that's a theoretical thing that they don't agree with, and they will never support you. And I ran into that with some of my neighbors too, but I did get overwhelming support. So that's my story. I hope that's helpful. Also happy to answer any questions.
All I gotta say is it was clear, concise, riveting, and scary. Geraldine, thank you so much for going through this process. Being literally, and again, we talk to hundreds of hosts. Like we reach out. We're literally looking for people who have actually successfully gone through this process. And Geraldine is basically the only person. It's literally the only person. If there's somebody new, the board will have to let me know. I don't think Jose knows anybody else. We've looked, and that should let you guys know the reality of just leaving this ordinance where it is. This is why we are doing what we're doing. This is, and it's so fortunate and so great that we are in a very great position to get this removed or changed. But we have to continue to get you guys' help, because this is the process that you all will have to deal with. And again, barely anybody will be able to get through this process and actually get approved. Just getting in the queue, I want to make clear, just getting in the queue is getting your name pulled. That doesn't mean at all that you're going to even get the license and the variance, I should say. Remember that Geraldine said that it is, you basically are at the whim of your peers, at the whim of not even your peers, folks that have no idea about your industry, your neighbors that are not in the industry, that just might not want to have a short-term rental on their block for purely selfish reasons that have nothing to do with you actually being a good neighbor or not. Because we know that I'd say everybody on here is a great actor, but they will have control over if you get a license. So I
wanted to
open the
add
floor for questions. Yep. So,
Yeah,
sorry,
I wanted-
second call. We have somebody in front of you. I got to mute you real quick. Lisa has been raising her hand first. She's been raising it for a while. So, Lisa, go ahead with your question.
Great, thank you very much. So my name is Lisa Plitnick, and I, like you, Geraldine, I have just one Airbnb. It's actually it's my second home. It's in Fishtown, and I bought it because I love Fishtown. And I thought, while I'm not there, how about I Airbnb it? And it was working out really well, and I was actually having fun. I've never had any problems with guests. Everything's been great. But my problem has been, so I've started the process for visitor accommodation. I have my hearing date scheduled for January 18th. And so I got my email, like you were saying, with all the stuff I need to do. So I'm, getting started on getting all of that in place. But what happened with me was, I think one of my neighbors must have, because I was continuing to operate like normal, because I thought we had till January 3rd to continue to operate. And if we didn't have our license by January 3rd, that's when we had to stop. But I actually got a nasty note on my car one day. And then a little, maybe a couple of weeks after that, it's something about, no Airbnbs are allowed in Philadelphia. Then a few weeks later, I saw an inspector come to the house, knocking on the door. It's like, I have a Ring camera. I saw him knocking on the door. I get a letter in the mail. They said if I didn't stop renting, and by August 26th, I was going to get fined $600. So, and I had to appeal that. So I went down and I appealed it, because you can only appeal in person, apparently. And I haven't heard back as to whether my appeal, I stopped. I had to shut down essentially, because I didn't want to poke the bear. I've probably spoken to 5 or 6 different people at L&I. They all think that the deadline was July 1st. So that's why they went out and did the inspection and set up the fine, because they think that we're not supposed to be renting. So now I'm essentially out of business long before the deadline, and I don't know what else to do except to just leave it shut down and continue the process, because I think if I open up again, somebody's going to call again and they're going to come back out. And
there's things that you can do so that you don't have to shut down.
Carl, so it sounds like you have some.
I just want to interject some helpful, quick points.
Yeah. So chime in on
people
the
can implement if they're being bullied by the city council enforcers. There are things that you can do, as I put in the chat. Just go ahead and read that if you can. You can always contact me personally. I don't mean to hijack or anything. It's just that, again, I've been working on this 8 years globally in cities across Amsterdam, Berlin, New York, Philadelphia, primarily in Philadelphia, because I've lived here part-time for the past 8 years since I was a professor at UPenn as a career studies professor. And I've had to self-fund my own academic work through Airbnb. And there are lots of social development ways that you could go about finding tenants to rent to for longer than 30 days, which would put you right back on legal ground.
I can't do that either, Carl. Thank you for your input, Carl, but I actually started that route as well. And I don't live in the city of Philadelphia. And you have to have a responsible person that lives within the city limits of Philadelphia.
Well, I'm here.
Want to do long-term,
and I have an entire guild of people who I'm working with that you guys can draw upon if you'd like to.
Oh my goodness.
Well, so Carl, we appreciate your outreach, and hey, it's great to find creative solutions, but yeah, we want to focus on what can happen and what can work for everybody. And so I'm going to mute you again, but yeah, we'll get to you in line with everybody else. So Lisa, we really appreciate your comment there, and we saw your notes and everything, your emails. We've been in contact, and I want you to know that we actually did send that to the Director of Commerce Department. They were actually very surprised that you were getting fined, and they're working on that right now as well. So I just want you to know that we do, we have your back on this, and we don't know what they're going to say, but this was something that, like you said, it absolutely was not supposed to be that. That enforcement got moved to December. Director of Commerce knows it. Most of it, L&I knows it. Maybe this person didn't, or what you were mentioning, but I want you to know that they're investigating that too, and that's like on the books. Absolute, that's not supposed to be happening. So like I can say that 100%. That's not supposed to be happening. But that's just another, thing here, guys. Like, this is what happens if we just leave this the way it is. So I really want this and Lisa's story to be really a warning to not just stand idly by, to keep supporting, because this is not something we're already seeing the effects of what this would look like if we just stood by. So thankfully, we have we're in a great position to get this changed, and we need to keep going with that. So I want to jump in really quick and talk about the ways that you guys can help. I know a lot of you guys know already, but I'm going to say it once again. So the new thing that you guys can do, which it's not necessarily new, but we're really trying to reinvigorate this, is to make sure that you apply for your license. Everybody should be applying. This is not to concede. This is not a concession by any means. We're in just the same position as before, and I actually have some updates on that too, where it's just showing more and more that this is something that we will be able to win. But what I want to say is apply, because this helps them see how I'm just going to say it like plainly, ridiculous this is. That's how they see it. They hear it from you. They hear it from us and our political consultants that are working for you. And folks have been introduced, like Geraldine, who's told the city council members and decision makers, her personal story before she even got the license. This is going to be ridiculous. This is something that even if I were to get it, nobody's going to be able to really go through this en masse. It's going to be a couple of folks, and that's it. And what they need to see also is that the masses are applying, and they see how far this extends out. Right now, you can't get a hearing until February. If everybody was really applying, I bet you you wouldn't be able to get a hearing until 2 Februarys from now. February of 2024 or 2025. That's how ridiculous this would be. So everybody needs to apply for a license. Okay, do not be afraid, apply. This is showing them that this is not going to work. So you must apply. Okay, that's the big thing that we really want to reinvigorate. This helps us in everything that we're doing for you guys. We have the rest covered from there, but that is a very great piece that you guys can do. It costs no money. Just apply. Do not hold out on this. Get your hearing date set as soon as possible. The next thing is, and this is the most important thing right now, we are getting started and we're starting our meetings back up with city council members. And the lobbyists, we have to be able to retain them so that they can keep doing their work. We do not have the funds to do this. They have been used with the lobbyists with everything that we've been doing already. So we have to be able to still get funds in so that we can get those lobbyists going on September 15th. That is when.
What about
going to be
Airbnb host?
I'm going to mute you again, Carl. You got to follow the directions if you're going to be in this room. If you do this again, I'm going to boot you out of this room. I appreciate your passion, but you have to do this in an orderly fashion. So anyways, basically, what we have to do is we need to raise $5,000 so that we can get everything moving forward on September 15th. People have been contributing to this fund. We really appreciate that. We have $5,000 left to go, and that is going to allow us to really finish this fight and get this stuff going. I'd say we have the next 2 months, and that's really it. We're going to be making a lot of change right in that period of time. As soon as council gets back on the 15th, we're hitting the ground running. I also have one quick update, and this is something that I'm really happy to share with you guys. I told everybody that we've been working on press so that we get this out to the news again. And I want to tell you guys that people are fervent about what's going on right now. I'm getting calls from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Jose is getting calls from L, and I'm going to totally mess this up. I want you to say it, Jose. Yeah.
LD.
LD, there we go. Eldia. And so, guys, we're the news didn't even know that this stuff was happening. There was a news report that came out early on from the Philadelphia Inquirer that talked about the what was going on. This was before the ordinance got passed. It was pretty balanced, but they've been looking for the follow-up. They had no idea what was going on because all of this stuff happens right behind closed doors. City council doesn't put this stuff out publicly. So, we've been doing our part in making sure that they understand what's going on, and now they want a story. So do not be surprised if we ask some of you folks to give your testimony so you guys are in the news and people around the whole city know what's going on. So that's happening right now. Like, this is something that's looking to be a hot button issue, like the biggest news that's happening for the rest of the year. So like when September comes, September 15th, that's when everything starts rolling again. But we need you guys' help to continue to pay these lobbyists to keep this stuff going, okay? So I'm gonna post the link in the chat, and if you're planning to donate, you need to donate now so we can get this stuff going. And one moment, and I want to say that we always want to offer things as much as we can to really help people that are contributing in this way. Anybody who donates $250 or more will be in a private group chat with us where we can really talk more freely about some things happening behind the scenes. You guys can ask us direct questions. It's easier for us to get in touch with you. That's just something that we want to do for you committed hosts. So anybody who donates $250 right now during this call will be able to get access to that chat. I know there's people that have been reaching out, and we want to be able to reach out directly to the committed people, the most committed people possible. Again, we want to make sure that we're able to reach anybody, no matter what they can do monetarily. But we just want to add this as something to help people and give them an incentive to donate. And then the next thing that you can do, and that we really want everybody to do, is to call or email your city council person. If you do not know who your city council person is in your district, we're going to put a link in the chat so that you can find that city council person. But we've sent this information out via email. It's very simple. We also have guidance that literally it's just step 1, 2, 3 of what you can do. It's very simple. You're really just going to be saying, hey, this is who I am. I'm in this district. This is what short-term rentals does for me and my family. Number 2, this is what how my community feels about short-term rentals. Number 3, this is what will happen to me if short-term rentals will be banned. It's literally those 3 things. That's all you have to do. That makes a ton of impact as well. So us reaching our fundraising goal of $5,000 more is most important, but applying for the license via LNI, everybody should be doing that. It's, I want to say it's absolutely free, but then I think about that application fee where you can accelerate it for $750. And by accelerated, that just means, you'll be able to get seen in February, maybe, when you're already banned. But that's something that everybody can apply for absolutely free and get that stuff going. And then again, last but not least, reach out to your council members via phone or email and say those 3 things. That is what we need from you guys at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing the answering people's questions again. So I'm going to go to Rodney Ross. They've been raising their hands for a while. And then we're going to go back. Carl, I definitely got you in the queue. I appreciate you following the rules and everything. We're going to get back to you since you had your time to answer questions before. But let's get to Rodney Ross. Rodney, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business, and then go ahead and ask your question.
How you doing? I'm Rodney. Good to see you again. I was at the last meeting. In South Philly in Point Breeze. Basically, we had a couple of Airbnbs during COVID. We shut them down, so now I'm just on my house. Mostly traveling nurses, but people here and there. I just wanted to actually say something too. Listening to what was your name again? Not Lisa. The first Geraldine story. Yeah. So I'm sure you probably know this, but like you just mentioned, the $750 expediting fee. If you own a property in an LLC, you actually have to use an attorney to go to the zoning. They don't allow you to go without an attorney. So just FYI, and I've been through the zoning process a bunch of times. It's minimum like $6-7 grand, depending on who you're using. So just probably something to let them know. You have to use an attorney. Like, I'm working on buying a house actually on my block, And if I'm able to do that and have that as a little second rental, I'll have to use an attorney because I'm going to put that in LLC. And then one other thing, even if you win your zoning decision, people can still appeal it for 30 days. So a nasty neighbor could come. And again, you probably know this too, just putting it out there for everybody who doesn't. I had one question, if anybody's been through the process as an owner occupant, because I filed my thing. I actually didn't realize that you needed to submit a separate zoning application before your limited lodging license. So do you know, or have you had people that have, it's every time I fill out a zoning app, it's a confusing thing, which is why we use attorneys, but like it doesn't, have you had anybody that has been through and knows the process if you're an owner occupant, like how long it takes from you filing that zoning application to them changing the zoning so you can actually get your limited lodging license? Has anybody been through that? That's really my question. Not as a property that's not owner occupied. I know that's super long, but as an owner occupied.
For sure. Well, you know what? I'll chime in really quick, and I think Jose could actually answer this really well too.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, from what I know, you're not changing the actual zoning, you're changing the use of it. So
Right.
The variance you're getting is for the use of it, since it's historically supposed to be residential and not to be used as business use, like a commercial property. So what you're applying for is like the exemption or the variance for the use permit. Like to go through actual process of changing the zoning, that's even harder. I heard. I mean,
So
residential to commercial, I heard. I mean, that's a whole different.
And I want to jump in really quick, and Geraldine also posted this in the chat. What I was going to ask is, if you're talking about owner occupied, I mean, there shouldn't be a reason why you need a variance, because this is only dealing with folks that are not using their primary residence. And it's owner occupied, that's your primary residence. So
I agree. And I'm using the semantics wrong. I always just say zoning, and really what I'm talking about is the change use. But I'm asking this because when I submitted my application, and I actually, I did the virtual appointment with someone on Eclipse, because that makes it easier. They can walk you through it. And so my application got denied because they said I had to submit the zoning form to the zoning department first. And I also agree with you. Like, I know I'm not changing the zoning. I know this is primary occupant. This is what I was told. So, which is very confusing. So that's
just to be clear, what did you apply for that you got denied for?
The limited lodging operator. I could pull it up, but the
limited lodging operator license.
Yeah, exactly. That website that you had up, followed the instructions, went through the whole thing, and it got denied. And usually they have instructions on why you're denied, and they don't do that. They just post the link to the page that so it's kind of like there's no insight. So again, that's why I ended up jumping on a virtual call, and then they're telling me I have to submit a zoning application, I don't know if it's change of use. I'm assuming it's a change of use, but I didn't think you had to do that if you're an owner occupant. So that's why I'm like, if anyone's done this, I'm curious to hear as an owner occupant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is the thing that I'll just be super point blank, but also say, hey, this is what's happening to you. So, you have to proceed as things are going, but this really should not be an issue, but it's a shame that it is. And I think this really goes to the point of going back to what Lisa was saying. There are things happening even now that should not be happening. And I think you fall into that category. And I'm not surprised. I think that's really the conclusion here, is that things are happening even that are not being listed, that they are not on the ball on this to the level that they should be, and it is causing mistakes to happen in certain situations where they're really, but even if it's just certain situations, no, that is a problem. And to think about what's going to happen when February hits, no, just say January, because I can automatically see, and again, with us being able to do what we do, January should not be an issue, because this should be changed or removed. But if we did not act and do what we're doing, January hitting, that's when people would be booted off the platform without licenses. And then people are definitely going to be trying to apply for licenses. And then that's when, definitely there's going to be a extremely increased volume. And if they're already having trouble now, think about what's going to happen then.
Yeah. Oh, and so I'm looking at the chat. I'll probably just try and get somebody else because half of them don't know what's going on. And then the
Yeah.
last thing, I also got a
like-
visit from an
'Cause that,
inspector.
that person made a mistake.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, not everyone is equally versed in it. Like you might have to go to like 3-4 different people because not everyone. Trust me, you go in person, you probably might have to go all the way up to the manager. I mean, John had that
Right,
experience. I mean, I've been there in person, and you're gonna invest time. And thanks for coming to the in-person meeting. I remember
Anytime. And
Yep,
if
I
you need
remember.
anybody else, to or share a story about being visited by an inspector, that's the last thing I'll say. I also got visited by an inspector. I luckily didn't get a fine, but because I was here, because it's my house, but I'll mute myself. So thank you, and I'll try again.
No, thank you, Rodney. That was great input, and we're happy to have been able to answer your question. So next, we're going to go to Lily Kravitz.
Hi, everyone.
You've heard this before, but I mean, I automatically think Lenny Kravitz when I see your name. I just by the sound of it, I mean, I have to shout out to Lenny Kravitz. Shout out to Lenny Kravitz. No relation. It's all good.
I wish we were.
Okay.
As many times as I hear that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to discuss this 30-day thing. So I don't think I understand it. If I move, if the Airbnb specifications are a minimum of 30 days, then I'm allowed to proceed as was before.
Jose, did you want to take that one? I'm scrolling to the line item here for 30 days.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
So I guess I don't understand this 30-day thing. If I change, right now I have a minimum of 2 days. If I change my minimum on Airbnb to 30 days, then I am allowed to proceed with no further licensing. Is that correct?
I mean, on the platform, that's how it shows. So if you go to, I think if you're on the Airbnb website and it says you must register or be licensed by January 3rd, if you click on that, I think one option is you got to put your license number, and the other option is, or you could make it 30 days or more.
Oh, I see.
But
And
that means that's it. Like as of today, you won't be able to have anyone less than 30 days. But come January, I mean, if you are okay with that, I mean, you're technically not going to be a short-term renter anymore.
right. I just didn't realize that was an option. And then the other, the limited lodging, as far as that goes, if I am renting the unit that I am Airbnb-ing.
Right. It basically means the apartment where you live in,
Mm-hmm.
and you just Airbnb it.
Right.
That's it. So it has to be your primary residence, literally where you live, eat, sleep, cook, and then maybe part-time you do this Airbnb stuff. That's kind of how the verbiage is. Like, it's where you actually live, and you can't have 5 primary residences. So
Sure. Now,
you have to show some type of proof of you being like, this is your home.
right. So now, you said part-time I am able to Airbnb.
No. I mean, it's gonna be. I mean, as a limited lodger, like it's your Airbnb. Like you have the right to Airbnb your primary residence.
So basically what that would mean is you have generally free reign on that one property, but that's it. And if this were to just be passed the way it is, the only people that would have a pretty easy process to have a short-term rental would be people who are just wanting to rent their primary residence only where they live, or if they have a property that is CMX3 compliant, which is like 10% of all the homes in Philadelphia, and they're mainly in the city center. So that's mostly nobody, a very small minority of folks. And yeah, so that's the best way to look at it from that perspective.
Okay. And as far as the licensing, I actually did apply for it. I was turned down, and I was actually told I would be turned down. And then when I missed the 30-day period because they didn't let me know when I was turned down, and I was waiting for them to let me know. When I came back, they wouldn't extend that day. So I had to reapply for that. That's $50 each time.
Yeah.
And then to go on after you are denied is $350, I believe. I could be wrong on that. Please, someone else chime in if they know. But again, they tell you right away that you're going to be turned down. And then someone else, when I went to reapply, she said, well, I don't know why he said that. He doesn't know if you're going to be, he was the manager. So I think he knew, but just to show that they really don't know what they're doing there either. As confused as we are, I think they're even more confused, and they're the ones that should have all the information.
I would completely agree. And we've seen this from the beginning. That is not the case. And I'm not even trying to make this just a big fest of hating on LNI. I mean, but it is a fact. And the big issue is, it's like, hey, that's fine. Like that it's not, you know, we're not on a crusade to change the operating process of LNI. What we're saying is this ordinance shouldn't even be in place where we have to go through LNI in that fashion. It should be something where everybody is able to get licensed, and then there's rules in place to take out bad actors. I'll even chime in on that, because I always like to remind people of what we like. If we were to have something in place, what we would advocate for is a 3-strike rule, where if, you know, again, everybody can get a license. Primary residence, no primary residence, no restrictions there. And then a 3-strike rule where if, like, the fire marshal comes through and it's a documented incident, which is already recorded with the city, then you get a strike. Not a neighbor complaint, not a neighbor calling the cops, and, you know, as a quote unquote prank or just trying to get you shut down. A recorded incident from a city official that there's an actual issue. You get 3 of those, then you don't get a license. We don't want bad actors to be on the platform. And this is something that has worked in other cities. Columbus, Ohio is a city that has this exact same regulation, and it's worked perfectly. So there are examples of this working in other cities. There's no reason why Philadelphia shouldn't be able to do this as well. And like I said, I do want to reiterate this. In our conversations with council and the director of commerce, they were very into that. They liked that 3-strike rule. When I tell you guys we are very well versed to win this, when we get back on the 15th to council, I mean that. They're on board with these things, but we have to finish the fight. They're in recess right now. They did the delay in part to make sure that we had time to do this. And now we're meeting back with them in September. September 15th is when they get back and have their first session. We'll be meeting around that time. So this is why we need to be able to be supported and succeed here, so that you guys can still operate, because doing it this way is basically impossible. And I think everybody understands that at this point. So I really appreciate your input, Lily. Every time I see the name, I'm like, oh man, okay, don't say Lenny Kravitz. Don't say Lenny Kravitz. Lily, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And okay, great. So what I'd like to do is, I just want to, because we're at the 9 p.m. mark, I do want to just give people a chance. If you guys were planning to ask about anything with regards to Minut, I just want to open that up just for one quick moment to give Nathan a chance to answer, just in case he might have to leave, even though he hasn't said anything. He's on board with us and everything like that. But I did just want to throw that in there just in case anybody had any questions. And I also wanted to reiterate that you guys do get an offer for Sharing Philadelphia members, that if you use that product to help you not have party houses, you get 2 months free. And that's if you do the purchase of the yearly plan, you get 2 months free. If you guys haven't heard, it's a very cost-effective solution to monitor your space so you are not one of those bad actors. And if we had Minuts in these homes before they were proposing this ordinance, with the statistics they have of parties being stopped, which is at about 94%, we might not even have to have this conversation right now. So this is definitely something that, as long as it works for your business, it's a really good thing for you and the community. So just wanted to make sure I reiterated that. And I'm going to go ahead and put their website in here one more time so people can go there if they want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I appreciate you all having me, and I've dropped my email in the chat as well in case anyone wants to reach out to me directly.
Fantastic. So you guys have direct access to Nathan. Ask him any questions. If you want to move forward, let him know, and he'll make sure that you guys get that discount for being a Sharing Philadelphia member. We really appreciate it. Okay. So I see there's one more hand raised. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat because I've been neglecting you guys. Apologies. Let's see. So Geraldine asks, I'd be curious to know if those complaints attached to an individual or the property. That's another disconnect you could highlight. Well, here's the thing. I mean, those complaints, this would be what's proposed, and don't quote me on it, but I'm very sure that those are tied. Well, basically, whether it's tied to the individual or the property, I think the way that they apply that for the actual license and it being taken away is, okay, that property has a strike, that property had an issue. Okay, who's the owner of that property right now? Okay, so that person gets a strike on their license. And I do know this in other cities, when you apply for a license, it's not about the property, it is specifically that person. So you are the person that has the license. The license isn't tied to the property. So that means that that strike would be tied to that person. And if there is a new owner or new occupant, they would then apply for their own license and they would have a clean slate. So that is how that would work if this were implemented, because that's how it works in other places. All right, yeah, which is why the Philly law is so flawed. Exactly. The current licensing is tied to the property itself, and like the adjustment and the variance is tied to the property itself, and yeah, it's just a confusing mess in that sense, and it's pretty unfortunate. But that's why I feel really good about us being in a great position to change this. Okay, so I am going to call on what looks to be our last person. I'm going to call on Carl again. Thank you for being patient, Carl. The floor is open again for you. Carl, if you're speaking, you're on mute. There you go.
I had to figure out how to unmute. Sorry, I'm an academic and I've just been working on my own projects for the last decade and a half, and I never got to figure out how to use Zoom during the pandemic. Sorry about that. My dad passed away last year and my family's just been going through stuff. So I've been trying to do a lot of this remotely. I've really just been trying to give people a summary of the experience I've had doing this for the past 8 years.
Real quick, when you describe this, let us know what this is.
Airbnb arbitrage. So I've been running units in Philadelphia, multiple units, not owner occupied. I mean, technically they are, because I lived there half the time anyway, especially when I was teaching down here, and my students have become, one of my students is an assistant DA of Allegheny County now. Former students at UPenn. And, you know, I think that we have a lot of political levers that we can pull beyond just, you know, the lobbyists working on our own sort of limited interests of getting this policy to not be so janky and stupid and bad for everybody, including the city. But like, you know, there's a lot of things we can do as hosts by helping the homeless, helping people that are homeless adjacent because of COVID. I was homeless adjacent because of COVID, and in a partnership that did not end well because of COVID. A lot of people have been going through so much hurt and pain, and landlords haven't been helping anybody. People who own buildings haven't been helping anybody. It's up to us to help ourselves and each other. And I'm a resource for that. And people should get in touch with me. I'll put my website for my actual like published academic work, which I've worked on for the past 2 decades. I'm a biochemist, global health expert, and data, big data expert, basically. So I work on lots of different projects ethnographically, globally. And this Airbnb arbitrage project has been going on in Johannesburg, Berlin, Amsterdam, New York City, Philadelphia for the past 8 years. Philly was the very first Airbnb, and I've been working on it for the past 8 years. I am happy to try to be a resource if I can. I do have, you know, if you can't afford consultancy fees, I'm setting up a 501c3 for myself so that I can donate to you through pro bono consultation. No one should have to deal with the city. Like, one big question I had are the fines outlined somewhere easily for us to like access so that we know what we're up against if they come to get us? Because in New York City, it's like $8,000.
For sure. I'm glad you
asked. Like $600.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So, well, and I can chime in with regards to the 600. Well, that was just that's preliminary. That's one piece. That is not the full brunt of fines. And I also
Which
want
it sounds like you got the director to even say was like, no way, man, which was awesome, by the way, fabulous on your hand.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad we could be of assistance. The other thing though, and what really costs money is, yes, they have these fines that could be issued, but I want to make this clear. This is not something where you'll be able to skirt the system, quote unquote, or be able to operate without doing this. Like, you're going to be kicked off the Airbnb platform.
No, I know. And I'm not suggesting people don't go through the process, but there are things you can do outside of the process. So while I was working on sexuality, race, and human rights in South Africa for the past decade, funny enough, that has a lot to do with privacy rights, right? Women know this from abortion rights being taken away from them, stripped from them after 40 years. And they're coming for us next. I mean, the queers for marriage, and then for the Airbnb hosts that are already started. But like, our rights to privacy are being trampled on through these laws anyway. There are appellate court judges who have found in favor of us in historical precedent. And it's just a matter of working with the right, like, as a legal anthropologist, I'm not a lawyer by any means. I wouldn't want to go to law school. I've helped my students become lawyers. They're great at doing law around these issues because they trained under me. They are in Pennsylvania. They are assistant DA people. We should try to reactivate them towards these new, broader goals, I think, that we could possibly collectively define together. These aren't just from me. I mean, I don't want them to be just from me. I don't have time to do all that. But I'd really like to just kind of put it all on the table so that people can get in touch with me if they like.
For sure. Well, thank you, Carl. And please put your information in the
Kirk,
chat.
actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My assistant set up the profile, but they were not paying attention when they put my name in, I guess.
What was your name again?
Kirk Furyk. I'll put my
yes.
I put my email in the chat, and I'll put my website so people can just read my work so they know where I'm coming from.
Sounds good. Yes, Kirk Furyk, put your info in the chat. I can tell there's a lot that you've been doing, and you're very passionate about many issues, and we appreciate your passion. And now, with that said, what we'll do to kind of close off and really funnel your question, the fine related matters, I think that would be a good thing to just kind of announce that we can announce it for others. And I'll say this, there's some notes on that. I don't have it right on the top of my person right now, but Jose, did you have anything to say with regards to that, with regards to fines? Because this isn't something that we've really talked about in depth, because we know that, you guys will be hit before you even really can get fined. Getting fined is almost that's almost a privilege, because that means you're still operating to the point where you can get fined. But Jose, go right ahead if you have anything on that.
I'm trying to look it up. I know I had seen it, but it was something to the effect of a couple $100 per day.
And that's probably something that wasn't updated past the original ordinance, where they said that if you didn't have a license, you were going to be fined, but it was something that they weren't really, I guess, necessarily enforcing. And this was like when the Pope was in town and things like that. After that, that's when they put that in. And it just wasn't something. It was a benign rule, because they didn't even have a really good licensing system set up where you could actually get a license. So it wasn't even something that actually was in play. But I would assume that, the fines were, I think, first of all, somebody got a $600 fine, not somebody, but Lisa got a $600 fine. But
that sucks.
Yeah, which definitely sucks. And the thing is, I would expect worse things than that with regards to fines, more than $250. But the biggest thing is, you will have your rental income shut off from being banned on the platform. So you'll lose way more just from that. Your potential bookings, your future bookings, your bookings that you already have, like, there's a lot at stake here. So I think
people know that there's other resources too. Like, I mean, they're pay to play. They're like, Guesty is one where they actually like can do peer space is another.
Yeah, well,
one platform. There's also the Italian group that's now doing.
Just to let you know, these other platforms, like VRBO, Airbnb, they're automatically going to have to comply. Guesty Guesty, just so you guys know, Guesty is a platform where it really is. It's a channel manager, where it means that, hey, you're on Airbnb and VRBO, you can use Guesty so that you can communicate with guests on both. But the thing is, they also have a channel where you can set up your own website. But I want to let you guys know, even those sorts of things are going to be getting enforced. just to give you a quick case study, in Arlington, Texas, they did basically what they're trying to do in Philly right now and enforced this ban. And basically everybody got banned off of Airbnb and off of platforms like Guesty. Guesty actually participated and helped enforce that ban. So again, if you are on any sort of platform, you are not safe. I really want to make that clear. So, but we're basically at a time right now. We appreciate everybody's input here. And yeah, like, I really hope that things were made clear. I hope that this lets you guys know, what the current licensing is for you, why it is absolutely not something that is acceptable for the community, and what you guys can do to stop this. Again, it is applying. Everybody should be applying and scheduling that variance, because then they'll see that it's getting even worse. And then, donating to the cause so that we can keep these consultants in play that have been instrumental in us getting this far. This is the reason why we got this delayed by almost a year, guys. Okay, this is serious and this is very effective. And then the third thing is to contact your city council members via email or phone. Jose put that in the chat of where you can find your city council member for your district, but you guys need to do these things. Whatever you can out of those three, do them all if you can. We're going to post the link to the GoFundMe one more time. We appreciate the donors that donated just now. We want to give a shout out to Rodney Ross, who donated, and thank you so much. We're going to add you to the group. Again, this offer is still open. If you donate $250 or more, we will add you to the group where we can more quickly and easily transmit information to you guys if you guys want background info of just like what's going on from a day-to-day level. Once again, we will still be updating everybody. We want everybody to know what's going on, but this is just something we want to offer to people that just want to know more frequently what's happening on the day-to-day behind the scenes. So I'm going to put the link one more time, and as we close out, you guys will still have that chance to do that, and then we'll go ahead and end the call. So Jose, I'm going to pass it to you if you had any parting words that you wanted to say.
No, I'd just like to say, thank everyone for being on this call. I know some of you I've met in person. Rodney, I know we spoke at the in-person event about a month ago. But yeah, I'm grateful to be here in the fight with everybody. I mean, I live in Philly. All my units are in Philly. Some of them are not gonna make it past January unless there's a change. So when I say I'm vested interest, I'm definitely in it. So I'm glad to be helping everyone here by helping myself and working together as we have for the past year. Now I've seen the progress. Now we have the momentum, and we're about to knock this out. And I'm super excited. Diron's been on board. He's helped out other cities overcome these unfair regulations. And this is your right, whether you're a property owner or not. Like, this is an industry that's growing, and whether you're a homeowner, I mean, this is your right to do as you want with your property. And who's to say, who's to tell you that you can't do this? So fight for your rights. Everyone's vote, everyone's donation, everyone's voice matters. So just make it heard. Like, literally calling your council member, it goes a long way. Going to their fundraisers, it goes a long way. Like, meeting them in person, just creating that noise, that buzz, that this matters. That's how they hear us. So that's it.
So true. I couldn't have said it better myself. And again, Jose is somebody who is literally one of you guys local in the city and getting this stuff done, one, because, it's going to hurt him, but then he realized, hey, this is a whole community that's being affected. And just so you guys know, again, this started with me way back in 2019 in Detroit, Michigan, where my business was going to be affected and completely wiped out. We learned how to fight these bans and get these things completely pulled. And that's exactly what happened in Detroit. And now we're up to eight additional cities from that. And we're excited for Philadelphia to be safe as well. So thank you guys so much. I just want to make sure if Nathan is on. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. No, Nathan was planning to log off already, but I definitely wanted to give him a chance to say anything if he was on. I want to give a shout out to two more donors. Geraldine, we appreciate you. Thank you for your generous donation. Thank you, Lee, for your donation, and thank you, Gabriel, for your donation. We really appreciate you guys. And you know, this is what it's all about. This is, you know, fully community run, and you guys are supporting yourselves and supporting the rest of the community as well. And we're going to knock this out for you guys. Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I'm going to go take this suit off because I'm starting to get a little sweaty. You might need to go to the dry cleaners after this, but that's what it's all about. Okay. Thank you guys so much. And actually, I'm sorry. Let me let Jason give a quick shout out. Nope, it's too late. He's okay. You keep up. What? You know what? I think. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Go check out this fool. Go check out this fool on Hulu. It's a funny show. That's my signing off. Get off this Airbnb thing, man. We did enough today.
I know what Jason's about to be doing. He's about to get on Hulu after this. Well, yeah, we appreciate you guys taking your time for this call, and we're going to go ahead and head out. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great one.